Hey everybody, it's part 4 and our first part of Harbor Talks on leadership. I hope this has been great for you. I hope you've really enjoyed. Maybe you've gotten a little bit out of it. Maybe it's just pushed you, driven you. I know for me, it's forced me to relook at maybe even some of the books that I've had in the past, some of the research I've done on leadership. It's forced me to evaluate my own leadership and the leadership of our team here at Harbor Church. This last talk, as I was thinking about it, I was reminded recently of a principle I believe to be true, I know to be true, I've read to be true for years, but was reminded of it in a new way recently. At our church, Harbor Church, we're a church plant, and so we're just getting started, we're growing, and things are moving, but one of the areas that's been hard to staff has been the kids' church department. We have a lot of young families, new kids all the time, and it's been difficult to find volunteers to staff those positions. And so we defaulted to some of the mistakes we've made in the past, and that was kind of waving the flag and saying, hey, please sign up, please, we're understaffed, we have too many kids, would you please join us? And we weren't really seeing much response to that. And we made a pretty simple change that all of a sudden brought a pretty significant increase in volunteers, and that was during services, we began to celebrate the stories of people who had stepped up and were already serving. We recognized Lori and how she did some very specific, tangible things for our kids' church on Easter. We recognized Patrice and how she was giving of time above and beyond Sunday morning to make sure kids' church could increase and be better and be more powerful for our kids. And wouldn't you know it, as we began to do the simple thing of celebrating those stories, people started to sign up. Volunteers began to fill those spots, and now we stand at a place where we have volunteers. We now are fully staffed and can really raise the level of what we want to offer to our kids. And it really was through the simple principle that I've said before and I was reminded in a new way. And it's this I want us to think about, that you will achieve the things you celebrate. Man, hear me in that. You will achieve the things you celebrate. As you look around your organization, wherever that is, maybe it's a business, maybe it is a church, maybe it's just your family, that, right, you want your kid to get better grades, you want your team at work to be more productive, then I would take a step back and evaluate, what am I celebrating? Because people will live up to that bar more than they will live up to the stick of you beating them down, or the perceived sense that, hey, the ship is sinking, we need to start bailing water more. No, people are going to respond when you begin to celebrate those things. And that leads me to this next point, which is celebration unites teams around shared values and a common vision. And so when you begin to do that, we did this early on at Harbor Church. We would have these joy moments where we'd recognize around the organization, where do we see somebody living out the values that we have laid out, and we want to celebrate them. Maybe it's as simple as a Starbucks card. Maybe it's just that public recognition. People love that, right? Even those people that are uncomfortable with the recognition, they still love it, right? To give them that personal shout out. So hear that again. Celebration unites teams around shared values and a common vision. And so how do we do that, right? How do we develop a culture of celebration? First point is this: begin with yourself. What are those things you need to celebrate in yourself? Yesterday I was out going for a trail run. I was up at Red Rocks Park and just running the trails there around Red Rocks. And I was reminded as I was reflecting and praying and spending time with God that, man, there is so much about life that I need to celebrate, that I need to be thankful for. And as kind of a church planter and entrepreneur, I can see all the places where we lack, and I can see the things that we need to improve on, but that's really that scarcity mindset that can begin to infect me as the leader. And so it begins with myself, and I just began to list things. As I was having that conversation with God, as I ran the trails at Red Rocks, God, I really celebrate this. I really celebrate that I get to be the lead pastor of this amazing group of people here at Harbor Church. God, I just want to celebrate that I get to be out today running in an environment, in a city that I've always wanted to live in the mountains where I've always wanted to live, right? I began to own this value of celebration myself. It begins with yourself. The next thing you can do to develop this culture of celebration is involve your team. Don't just tell people to do it, right? Don't just say, hey, here's an idea I have. Here's what we have to do. Invite them in and say, hey, what's a great idea that you've got? What's a way we can celebrate our people? Maybe like us here at Harbor Church, you may not have a lot of money, but you've got people. You've got resources. Get creative. We figure out one year we wanted to celebrate single moms. And so we start building some connections and we had a guy who could get us buddy passes with an airline. We had another guy who could get us discounted tickets at a resort down in another city. And so this last year, we sent a single mom for free to go take a 2-day trip and just go, man, celebrate herself, celebrate her, and she got free airfare and a free trip at a great hotel. Again, it didn't cost the organization any money. We just used our networks and we involved our team to create this idea of what does it look like to celebrate people. And the last one is this: keep beating the drum. Once you've done it, keep doing it over and over again. I had forgotten that. Even as we approached this need in our kids' church, I had forgotten, right? Because the need was so big, it became hard to celebrate the wins. And when we made that conscious decision to move away from the thing we lacked to celebrate the thing we wanted to achieve, all of a sudden people began to sign up. Again, I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you will look for ways to celebrate in your own organization, in your own family, in your own area that God has placed you. As we wrap up the series on leadership, I also invite you, maybe post on the bottom, what are the current leadership books that you're reading? Or maybe some of them that have been really passionate, really powerful for you. I know one is Canoeing the Mountains. I just finished reading that and it's been really powerful. It's specifically about Christian leadership, but there's so much good stuff in there. And maybe there's a book that you want to remind others to. Man, I'd love to hear about it. What's the book that I need to be reading? Post that in the comments, and we'd love to continue on this journey together as we pursue leadership where God has placed us. Thanks so much for joining, and keep an eye out for our next series on Harbor Talks.